Have you ever tried to, like, quantify a vibe? I know that sounds a little ridiculous to start a deep dive with, but just bear with me.
Slight chuckle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Think about a country, not its politics, not the GDP charts, but the actual feeling you get. You know, is it cool? Is it welcoming?
It's what we'd call soft power in academic circles, but honestly, vibe is not a bad way to put it. It's the emotional resonance a nation has.
Right. And usually we think that kind of reputation is built over like centuries.
Yeah.
Good food, nice architecture, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we're looking at a document today that suggests the whole formula has completely changed. We're diving into lmhsrvas.pdf, which has excerpts from the 2025 Korea National Image Survey.
And just to be clear, this isn't some blog post. This is from the Ministry of Culture, Sports, and Tourism. It's a government body releasing hard data.
And the numbers in here are absolutely wild. We're talking record-breaking. But the craziest part isn't even the number itself. It's who the government is giving the credit to. Yeah. They draw a direct line from their global reputation to one single person.
It's a fascinating pivot. Usually a country points to its policies or its industry. We make great cars.
Right.
We have a strong democracy.
Yeah.
But here, the ministry is pointing right at the entertainment sector and specifically at actor Lee Min-ho as like a pillar of the national brand.
It feels like if the U.S. government put out a report that said, America's really popular right now, and it's mostly because of Tom Cruise. It's that specific.
It is. It's a masterclass in modern branding. We should get into the data.
Okay, let's start with the headline number because, wow, we need to just sit with this for a second. According to this survey, global favorability towards South Korea has hit a record high of 82.3%.
82.3%.
I mean, let's just unpack that. In today's world, getting 82% of people to agree on anything feels impossible.
Chuckles, it is.
You couldn't get 82% of people to agree that puppies are cute.
It's an incredibly high bar. You look at approval ratings for world leaders or trust in big global institutions, they're often hovering in the 40s or 50s.
Right.
So to hit a number north of 80%, that implies this almost universal positive feeling.
And the text is really specific that this is a record high. So whatever they're doing, it's peaking right now in 2025.
Exactly. And so you have to ask, what's the engine here? What's driving this? The source is very explicit. It says cultural content was the primary driver.
See, this is what I find so interesting. It's not Korean technology or Korean food is the main thing anymore.
No.
It's content.
It signals a real maturation of the Hallyu or the Korean wave. Maybe 10, 15 years ago, the novelty was the music, the flashy production.
Sure.
But now this survey suggests that the content, the stories, the narratives, the dramas, that's become the main way the world understands the nation.
It's the difference between, say, buying a Samsung phone and watching a K-drama. Right. I respect my phone, but I don't have an emotional relationship with it. I don't cry when my phone battery dies. Well, maybe I do, but not in the same way.
That is the crucial distinction. You can respect a manufacturing giant, but you don't like them in a human way.
Right.
Cultural content it bypasses the logic center of your brain and goes straight for the emotions.
Right.
If you spend 16 hours watching a drama set in Seoul, you feel like you've been there, you feel a connection. That drives favorability in a way a microchip never could.
So the government knows its cool factor is coming from the screen. But then they take it a step further. They don't just thank the industry, they name names.
And this is where the document gets really specific.
Yeah, they specifically name actor Lee Min-ho. The quote is that he was named as one of the Korean figures who had a positive impact on South Korea's image.
Positive impact on South Korea's image. I mean, that's the language of diplomacy.
It is.
They're essentially treating his filmography as a diplomatic portfolio.
But wait, let me challenge that for a second. Is it really fair to pin a national image on one guy? I know he's huge, but is the ministry maybe overstating his role here?
I think the key is in how they describe his longevity. If this were some flash-in-the-pan viral star, I'd completely agree with you. It would be a stretch.
Okay.
But the text uses a very, very specific phrase, unchanging presence.
Yeah, that stood out to me too. Unchanging presence year after year.
Think about the entertainment industry. It is all about churn. New faces, new trends. Every 6 months, the internet has a new boyfriend. For someone to have an unchanging presence in that environment that's an anomaly.
It's almost like Okay, think about the stock market. You've got your volatile tech stocks that are up and down 50% in a week.
Right.
And then you have your blue chip stocks.
Yeah.
The ones you buy because they're solid, they're reliable, they weather every storm. Is the ministry basically calling Lee Min-ho a blue chip celebrity?
That is a brilliant analogy. Yes. He is a blue chip asset for the nation. The unchanging part suggests reliability. When people around the world watch his stuff, they know what they're getting. There's a baseline of quality, of charisma that doesn't really fluctuate, that builds trust.
And trust is what you need for an 82.3% number. If the face of your content was erratic or scandal-prone or just, made bad stuff half the time, that number would wobble.
Precisely. He serves as an anchor. But here is the paradox in the text, and I'm curious what you make of it.
Okay.
The survey says he has an unchanging presence, but in the very same breath, it says he has proved his global popularity that gets stronger with time.
Yeah, those two things don't usually go together. Usually if you're unchanging, you're stagnant, you're the oldie station, you're comforting, but you aren't growing.
Right.
So how could he be both unchanging and getting stronger?
I think that's the compounding interest of soft power. Because he hasn't changed his fundamental appeal, he doesn't alienate his core base, he retains them. But as Korean content spreads everywhere, he keeps acquiring new fans. He's not replacing his audience, he's stacking them.
So he's not reinventing the wheel every time, he's just rolling it further.
In a sense, yeah. The unchanging part is his brand identity. The getting stronger part is his market reach. And for a government, that's the holy grail. They don't want a volatile rock star representing them. They want a consistent, growing force.
It's just wild that the government is so aware of this. I feel like usually bureaucrats are like 10 years behind pop culture.
Well, South Korea has been very intentional about this for decades. They treat culture as an export industry, just like cars or semiconductors. So identifying the key players, the blue chips, is part of the strategy. They track these metrics religiously.
But the document doesn't just, pat him on the back. It looks forward. And this is where the language gets a little mysterious.
You mean the ongoing challenges part?
Exactly. The text ends with this request. Please support actor Lee Min-ho, who will show various forms through ongoing challenges. Okay, first, various forms. That sounds like he's a shapeshifter or something.
It does sound a bit sci-fi. But in the context of an acting career, various forms implies range. It suggests he isn't content to just play the handsome romantic lead forever.
Which is risky, right? If you're the blue chip stock and your value comes from being unchanging, why would you start showing various forms? Doesn't that mess with the whole formula?
That is the tension right there. The ministry wants him to be unchanging in his reliability, but the artist inside him needs to evolve. Various forms probably means different genres, different kinds of characters, maybe a villain, maybe something gritty.
And ongoing challenges. Usually when a government report talks about challenges, it means problems.
Right. Economic challenges.
Yeah. But here they frame challenges as a good thing, as something we should support.
They're framing his artistic risks as a national endeavor. Think about that. The ministry is saying he is going to try difficult things. He's going to push boundaries. Please stick with him.
Wow.
They're acknowledging that for cultural content to stay the primary driver, it can't stagnate.
So the unchanging presence has to change to stay the same.
In a way, yes. To maintain that relevance, to keep that stronger with time trajectory, he has to take on these ongoing challenges. If he did the same role for 20 years, the audience would get bored, and that 82.3% would start to drift.
That is a lot of pressure on one guy. Hey, go take some artistic risks, but please don't mess up because our entire national approval rating is riding on it.
It's an immense burden.
Yeah.
But it speaks to the power of the halo effect. The positive feelings people have for him cast a halo over the entire country. The ministry is betting that even as he changes forms, that halo will stay intact.
I want to go back to that support request. Please support actor Lee Min-ho. It's such a direct call to action. It's not just reporting news. It's like advocating.
It is unusual for a government document. It blurs the line between a state report and a fan club newsletter.
Yeah.
But it just underscores how vital they believe he is to the, let's call it the infrastructure of Korea's image. They're not just observing his career, they are actively rooting for it.
So if we zoom out, we've got this record number, 82.3%. The driver is cultural content. And the specific blue chip asset is Lee Min-ho. What does this tell us about the future of how countries even compete on the world stage?
It tells us the battleground has shifted. In the 20th century, you wanted the biggest army or the biggest factories. In 2025, you want the most compelling stories and the most beloved storytellers.
But isn't that fragile? I mean, factories are made of concrete. Stories are made of vibes.
It's incredibly fragile, and that is why the unchanging part of the text is so critical. A factory can be bombed, but a story can be canceled. A celebrity can have a scandal. Soft power is high reward, but it is also very high risk.
That's a great point. If your national image is tied to a person, you are completely subject to human error. But so far, the data says this bet is paying off.
The data is unequivocal. I mean, 82.3% is a landslide. It proves that this strategy of investing in cultural figures, supporting their challenges, and banking on their unchanging presence, it's working.
It really changes how I look at my Netflix queue. I'm not just picking a show, I'm participating in a geopolitical survey.
In a very real sense, you are. Every stream is a vote.
So here's a final question then. If this is the model, do other countries try to replicate this? Does the UK need a Lee Min-ho? Does Brazil?
Well, every country tries, but very few succeed at this scale. The Korean wave is unique because it was this coordinated effort between the private sector and the government, which we're seeing right here in this report.
Right.
Other countries have famous actors, but they don't necessarily have the state apparatus measuring their diplomatic impact and then asking the world to support their next project.
So that coordination is the secret sauce. It's not accidental fame, it's structural fame.
Structural fame, I like that. It suggests there's a scaffolding supporting the individual, and that scaffolding is what allows the national image to rise with the star.
It's a symbiotic relationship. He gets the platform, the country gets the prestige.
And we, the audience, get the content. It's a win-win-win.
Which brings us all the way back to the ongoing challenges. The whole thing depends on those challenges being met, and met well.
Correct. The moment he stops challenging himself, or the forms stop resonating, the dynamic changes. But for now, the survey is crystal clear. He is the face of a record-breaking success.
It's just wild. We talk about the face of a nation being a president or a monarch. The person on the currency. But in 2025, the face of the nation is the guy on the streaming thumbnail.
And frankly, people probably trust the guy on the thumbnail a lot more than the guy on the currency.
That is the truth. So as we wrap this up, I want to leave our listeners with something to chew on. The ministry is asking us to support him as he shows various forms. That implies change. It implies risk.
It does.
We know that 82.3% of the world likes what they see now. But what happens if one of those various forms is unlikable? What happens if the blue chip stock decides to become a volatile crypto coin for a movie role?
That is the provocative question, isn't it?
Does the national image stick with him? Or does that 82% start to fracture? If an actor's performance can lift a nation to a record high, do they also have the power to bring it down with them?
That's the danger of tying your brand to a human being. Humans are unpredictable.
Exactly. The source calls him an unchanging presence, but then promises he will change. Watching that tension play out is going to be the real drama to watch. Thanks for diving deep with us today into the face of a nation.
My pleasure.